The night was silent, covered in a blanket of cold mist. A lonely streetlight flickered near the edge of the forest, casting weak circles of light on the wet road. Ethan, a young mechanic who worked late shifts, walked home as he always did, tired, quiet, and alone. But tonight felt different. The air was heavier, as if something was watching him. He stopped when he heard it, a soft sound, almost like a cry. It came from the woods. At first he thought it was an animal, but then came the whisper. "Help me." The voice was weak, trembling, and definitely human, or at least it sounded human. Ethan hesitated. He wasn't brave, just a normal guy trying to survive his boring life, but something about that voice pulled him closer. He pushed through the wet branches, flashlight shaking in his hand, until he saw her, a girl, or maybe a woman, sitting on the ground, her body shaking. Her long silver hair reflected the moonlight like metal, and her skin looked pale, almost glowing. "Hey, are you okay?" Ethan asked, stepping closer. She looked up at him, and for a second he forgot how to breathe. Her eyes were bright silver, like tiny stars trapped in water. "They didn't look human at all, please," she whispered. "Don't expose me." Ethan frowned. "Expose you? What are you talking about? You need help." Before he could finish, her skin flickered. For just 1 second, a soft blue light spread across her arm, like electricity under the skin. Ethan jumped back, his flashlight falling to the ground. "What was that?" he shouted. The girl's breathing became fast. "You weren't supposed to see that," she said, her voice full of fear. "They're looking for me. If they find me, they'll erase everything." "Who's they?" Ethan asked, confused and scared. But before she could answer, a loud sound broke the quiet night. The low hum of an engine. Then came another and another. Black vans rolled down the road, their headlights cutting through the fog. The girl's silver eyes widened in terror. "It's them," she gasped. "Project Vale." "They found me." Ethan had no idea what Project Vale was, but the panic in her voice felt real. She stood up quickly, holding a small glowing device in her hand. "If they see me, they'll take you too," she said. "Take me? Why?" Ethan asked, but she didn't answer. She grabbed his hand. Her touch was cold but strong, and pulled him toward the forest. They ran through the trees as the sound of drones filled the sky. Blue lights moved between the branches, scanning, searching. Ethan's heart pounded. This couldn't be real. He was just a normal guy running from mysterious soldiers with some kind of alien girl who glowed in the dark. But every time he looked at her face, might be full of fear, full of life. He couldn't stop running. Behind them, voices shouted. "Target is moving! Scan Sector 3. The girl looked back and whispered, "If they catch me, you'll forget everything. They'll wipe your memory clean." "Why me?" "I don't even know you," Ethan said. "Because now you've seen me," she said, "and they don't allow witnesses." They reached an old drainage tunnel at the edge of the forest. The smell of rust and damp air filled the space. The girl ducked inside, pulling Ethan with her. She touched a panel on the tunnel wall, one he'd never noticed before, and suddenly a small light glowed from inside the metal. "What is this place?" Ethan whispered. "Safe," she said, though her voice didn't sound sure. She sat on the cold ground, breathing heavily. "My name is Lyra. I came here to learn about humans, but I made a mistake." Ethan sat across from her, trying to understand. "You're saying you're not human?" She nodded slowly. "I was never supposed to be found." Ethan looked at her again. In the faint light, she looked almost human, scared, tired, alone. But there was something different about her, something not from this world. "What happens if they find you?" he asked quietly. Lyra looked down at her hands. "Then your world changes forever." The sound of drones grew louder above them. Dust fell from the tunnel ceiling as something heavy moved outside. Ethan turned off his flashlight. Both of them held their breath. For a moment, everything was still. Then a red beam of light passed over the tunnel entrance, scanning. Lyra held Ethan's hand tightly, whispering, "Don't move. Don't make a sound." The beam lingered for a second longer, then moved away. The sound of engines faded into the distance. Ethan finally exhaled. "They're gone," he whispered. Lyra shook her head. "No," she said softly, her eyes glowing faintly again. "They never leave. They're always watching." Ethan stared at her, his heart still racing. He didn't know what he had just stepped into, but one thing was clear. His life would never be normal again. Outside, a small black drone hovered quietly above the trees, its red sensor blinking. it whispered into the dark. Target located. Begin Phase 2. The tunnel was silent except for the faint sound of water dripping somewhere deep inside. Ethan sat on the cold floor, still catching his breath. His heart pounded hard against his chest, trying to make sense of what had just happened. Outside, the night was full of hidden machines and unseen eyes. Inside, there was only him, and the strange girl who wasn't human. Lyra sat a few feet away, hugging her knees. The dim light from her glowing wrist flickered weakly, painting soft blue patterns on the metal walls. For a moment, Ethan wondered if she was some kind of experiment, a government clone, a robot, or maybe a hallucination caused by his exhaustion. But then she spoke again, and the sadness in her voice made it clear she was real. They'll come again, she said quietly. They never stop until the target is erased. Ethan swallowed. Who are they? And what do they want from you? She didn't answer right away. Instead, she looked up, her silver eyes reflecting the dim light. You wouldn't believe me, she said softly. Try me, Ethan replied. I just ran from black vans and flying drones for you. I think I can handle weird. Lyra almost smiled, just a tiny curve of her lips. Then she reached into her pocket and pulled out a small metallic cube. The moment she pressed it, a soft hum filled the tunnel. A holographic image flickered above it, a planet glowing green and blue surrounded by silver rings. This is Virion, she said. My home. Ethan blinked, not sure if he should laugh or panic. You're saying you're from another planet? Yes, she said simply. I was sent here by the Virion Council. My mission was to study humans, your minds, your feelings, your hearts. She paused, her gaze distant. My people do not understand emotion. We calculate, we adapt, but we do not feel. We wanted to learn what makes humans so unpredictable. Ethan leaned closer, staring at the hologram. It was beautiful. Oceans that shimmered like liquid metal, skies filled with green clouds. So what happened? Lyra's hands trembled as she closed the cube. I made contact with the wrong people. I thought they were scientists. I thought they wanted peace. Her eyes darkened. But they were part of Project Veil. Project Veil again, Ethan said. Who are they? They're a human organization that hunts alien life, Lyra said. But they don't destroy it. They use it. They steal our technology, our DNA, and they make weapons. They shot my ship down before I could return home. Ethan rubbed his forehead. This is insane. Aliens, secret projects, memory erasing. Lyra looked at him, her eyes full of guilt. I didn't mean to bring you into this. You should have walked away. Ethan shook his head. Too late now. He tried to sound calm, but inside fear twisted his stomach. He was talking to a being from another world, hiding from a secret human agency. Suddenly, Lyra's glowing wrist started to flash faster. She looked down, her face pale. They're tracking energy signals. The cube wasn't safe to open. A high-pitched static sound echoed through the tunnel, faint but growing louder. Ethan grabbed her arm. We need to move. They rushed deeper into the tunnel, their footsteps splashing in shallow water. Behind them, red lights flickered through the darkness. Something mechanical was following. This way, Ethan shouted, turning into a side path. They reached an old maintenance room, small, dusty, full of broken pipes. Lyra slammed the door shut and held her hand against the wall. The lights flickered again and the door sealed with a metallic click. For a few seconds, they both stood still, breathing hard. Then Lyra moved toward an old radio sitting on a shelf. She touched it gently, and the screen, dead for decades, suddenly came alive. A strange, echoing voice spoke through the static. Lyra of Virion. Unit 07 located. Transmission incomplete. Exposed? The word exposed repeated again and again, growing louder until the device burst into sparks. Lyra fell to her knees, covering her ears. Ethan rushed to her side. What does it mean? Who's talking? He asked. It's them, she whispered. They know where I am. They can hear everything. Every time I use my tech, they find me. Ethan helped her up. Then stop using it. I can't, she said, her voice breaking. My body needs Virion energy to survive. Without it, I'll die. Ethan stared at her. The glowing veins under her skin, the tears that shimmered faintly blue. He didn't know why, but he suddenly felt protective of her. She wasn't some monster or invader. She was just scared, lost, and hunted. Then we'll find another way, he said. Someplace safe. We'll hide until we figure this out. Lyra looked at him, surprised. You would risk your life for me? You don't even know what I am. Ethan gave a tired smile. I don't need to know what you are. I can see what you're not. You're not like them. For the first time, Lyra's expression softened. She looked almost human, almost at peace. But that peace lasted only a moment. Outside the sealed door, a faint metallic click echoed, the sound of a drone locking onto their position. Lyra's eyes widened in horror. They found us again. Ethan turned toward the noise, fists clenched even though he knew they stood no chance. From outside came a cold, robotic voice. Unit 07 confirmed. Prepare for extraction. Lyra whispered one word before the lights went out. Run. The metallic voice echoed through the tunnel, cold and lifeless. Unit 07 confirmed. Prepare for extraction. Ethan's heart froze. His eyes darted to Lyra, who stood trembling near the sealed door, her glowing wrist pulsing faster like a heartbeat in panic. We have to go, she whispered. The next second, the door exploded inward. A blinding flash filled the tunnel, throwing Ethan backward. Sparks and dust filled the air. Through the smoke, dark figures appeared. Soldiers in black armor with glowing visors, each holding strange rifles humming with blue light. Lyra grabbed Ethan's arm and pulled him up. This way, she shouted, running deeper into the tunnel. Ethan stumbled but followed, his legs shaking. Behind them, the soldiers' mechanical voices shouted commands. Do not lose the target. Authorization for live capture granted. The air filled with the sound of plasma fire. Bolts of blue energy shot down the tunnel, melting metal and concrete. Ethan ducked as one beam scorched the wall above his head. The smell of burning filled his lungs. They turned a corner and reached an old subway line, abandoned and dark. The tracks were covered in dust and broken glass. Lyra's eyes glowed faintly in the dark, guiding the way like small silver lamps. Who are those people? Ethan shouted over the noise of their footsteps. Project Veil's hunters, she said. They're trained to capture alien life. Once they catch us, they'll erase your memory and study me. Ethan didn't respond. He was too busy trying not to trip. Suddenly, a light flickered ahead and an old train car resting on the tracks. Lyra sprinted toward it, waving her hand over the control panel. The doors hissed open, though the power seemed long dead. They rushed inside. Lyra slammed the door shut and touched a glowing crystal on her wrist. The train's systems came to life. Lights flickered and the engines hummed weakly. Ethan stared in disbelief. You can power this thing? Only for a few minutes, she said, sitting in the driver's seat. Hold on. The train jerked forward with a painful screech, then began to move. Behind them, soldiers poured into the tunnel, firing relentlessly. Energy blasts hit the side of the train, leaving black burns. Ethan crouched beside Lyra. What happens if they catch us? Lyra's voice was quiet. You'll forget everything. They'll make it like I never existed. But they won't stop there. They'll keep looking, until no one remembers aliens ever came here. The train picked up speed. The old tunnel walls flashed past them in streaks of gray. Ethan tried to calm his breathing. For the first time in his life, he wasn't afraid of dying. He was afraid of forgetting. Then came a loud beep from the control panel. Power failing, Lyra muttered. We're losing energy. The lights flickered and the train slowed. Ethan saw a faint light ahead, an exit leading into the open night. But between them and freedom stood a half-collapsed section of track. Can we make it? Ethan asked. Lyra hesitated, then pressed her palm against the console. Only one way to find out. The train surged forward. Sparks flew as the wheels hit the broken rail. The carriage jumped, metal screaming, and for a moment it felt like the world flipped upside down. Then they were out, bursting from the tunnel into the open air, crashing through bushes and dirt. The train finally stopped, smoke rising from its sides. Ethan groaned, pulling himself up. They had landed in a forest, deep and dark, the moon glowing faintly above. Lyra stepped out first, scanning the sky. Her wrist light blinked in warning. They'll be here soon, she said. They can track me anywhere I use energy. Ethan rubbed his aching shoulder. Then we hide. You said your power runs on something called virion energy. Is there any way to block it? She nodded slowly. Maybe, but I need my crystal core and it's still inside my ship. Your ship? Ethan asked, eyes widening. It crashed not far from here, Lyra said, but Project Veil guards the site. If we go there, it's suicide. Ethan looked around the quiet forest. Then we don't have a choice, do we? Before Lyra could reply, a sudden whir broke the silence. Drones appeared above the treetops, their red sensors scanning the area. They found us, Lyra whispered. Ethan grabbed her hand. Then let's move. They ran through the forest, branches slapping their faces, the sound of drones closing in. Blue searchlights swept across the ground, burning through leaves. Lyra stumbled once, clutching her side, but Ethan pulled her up again. "Keep going," he shouted. They reached a small river, the water reflecting the moonlight. Lyra stopped, panting. "We can't outrun them forever." Ethan looked across the river. An old cabin stood there, half hidden by fog. "Over there." They splashed through the cold water and reached the cabin. Inside it was dark and full of dust. Ethan pushed the door shut while Lyra collapsed against the wall. Her glowing veins dimmed, flickering weakly. "You're hurt," he said. "I'm low on energy," she whispered. "If I use any more, they'll track us faster." Outside, the hum of drones grew louder. Red lights flashed through the windows. Ethan crouched beside her. "Then I'll distract them." Lyra's eyes widened. "No, you'll die," he smiled faintly. "Better than forgetting you exist." Before she could stop him, Ethan opened the back door and slipped into the dark. The drones moved toward the noise immediately. Inside the cabin, Lyra closed her eyes and whispered something in her own language. A soft, musical sound filled with sadness. The forest exploded with light as the drones fired. When the smoke cleared, the cabin was gone. Only silence remained, and a small glowing mark on the ground where Ethan had stood. The forest was quiet again. The night breeze moved through the trees, carrying the smell of smoke and metal. Lyra opened her eyes slowly. Her body ached, her veins dimming like dying stars under her skin. She looked around. The cabin was gone, only ashes and glowing embers remained. "Ethan," she whispered, her voice trembling. No answer. Only the sound of the wind. Her vision blurred as she stumbled forward, scanning the forest for any sign of him. Then faintly she saw it. A mark glowing on the ground, a human shape burned into the dirt. But it wasn't blood. It was energy. The same blue light that ran through her own veins. She touched it gently. A soft warmth filled her palm, and for a moment she heard his voice, distant, echoing in her mind. "I'm not gone, Lyra. Run." Her eyes widened. He was alive, thought somehow connected to her energy. That shouldn't be possible. No human could survive that kind of blast unless... Before she could think further, she heard footsteps behind her. Lyra spun around, ready to run, but stopped when she saw a familiar figure stepping out of the shadows. Ethan. He was alive, but not the same. His eyes glowed faintly blue, just like hers. The mark on his arm shimmered with the same alien pattern. "Ethan," she whispered, "what did they do to you?" He looked down at his hands, confused and afraid. "I don't know. When the drones fired, I thought I was gone. But then I felt something. Like your energy pulled me back." Lyra stared at him, realization dawning. "They used you. Project Veil injected you with hybrid cells, my cells. That's why you can feel what I feel. So I'm part alien now?" Ethan said, his voice breaking between fear and disbelief. "Yes," she said softly. "But that means they'll hunt you too." Ethan stepped closer. "Then they'll have to catch us both." Lyra wanted to argue, to tell him to leave, but the look in his eyes stopped her. There was something pure about human courage, reckless but beautiful. Her kind would never understand it. They moved through the forest until they reached an old tunnel hidden under roots and stone. Inside, they found what Lyra had been searching for. Her ship. It lay buried under the earth, half destroyed, half alive. The metallic body still glowed faintly, as if waiting for her. "This is it," she said quietly. "My vessel." Ethan looked around, amazed. "It's like something out of a dream." Lyra walked up to a cracked console and placed her hand on it. The ship responded, lights flickering to life. A soft hum filled the chamber and alien symbols floated across the air. "What are you doing?" Ethan asked. "I'm accessing the memory core," she said. "It holds all my recordings and everything I've seen and learned about humans." As the system loaded, holograms filled the air, images of people laughing, crying, fighting, helping. Cities glowing at night. Children playing. Soldiers marching. Lovers holding hands under the rain. Ethan watched in silence as scenes from human life played before him. "You were watching us this whole time?" "Yes," she said, her voice full of sorrow. "At first we thought humans were dangerous, violent. But then I saw something else, God in kindness, love, sacrifice. You feel in ways we never could. That's what makes you powerful. And that's why they fear you." Ethan frowned. "Who fears us?" "The Virion Council," she said. "My people. They wanted to understand emotion so they could control it. They saw what humans could do with feeling, build, destroy, hope, hate, and they were terrified. That's why they sent me." Ethan stepped back, shocked. "So this wasn't a mission of peace. It was research for control?" Lyra nodded sadly. "Yes, but after I met you, I saw the truth. Emotions aren't weakness. They're strength. They make life worth living." Before Ethan could answer, the console beeped sharply. A red warning flashed across the hologram. "Signal detected. Transmission in progress." Lyra's face paled. "No, they found the ship. Project Veil is tracing the signal. Can you shut it off?" Ethan asked. "I'm trying," she said, typing fast on the panel, but it was too late. The holograms flickered and changed, showing an image of a man in a black uniform, his cold eyes staring at them through the screen. It was Commander Roth, the leader of Project Veil. "Welcome back, Lyra," he said with a thin smile, "and thank you for bringing our experiment home." Ethan stepped in front of Lyra. "You stay away from her." Roth chuckled. "Brave words, hybrid. Do you even know what you are? You're the first of your kind, human and alien together, and you belong to us." Lyra's hand glowed as she tried to shut down the link, but Roth's voice echoed louder. "You can't hide anymore. Every piece of technology you use calls to us. We see you, Lyra, we see him." The hologram disappeared. The ship went dark. Lyra turned to Ethan, her face full of fear. "He's right. As long as I'm here, they'll never stop." Ethan clenched his fists. "Then we stop them first." Before Lyra could reply, the ground above them shook violently. Dust fell from the ceiling as heavy machines moved closer. Through the crack in the wall, the faint red lights of drones glowed like eyes in the night. Lyra looked at Ethan, her voice breaking. "If they take me again, everything ends. They'll use my knowledge to control your world." Ethan stepped forward, his new blue-marked eyes glowing faintly. "Then they'll have to fight for it." Outside, the forest roared with engines and light. Inside, two figures, one human, one alien, stood side by side as the world began to change forever. The ground shook beneath their feet. Trees cracked and fell as the dark machines of Project Veil surrounded the crash site. Red lights cut through the night like lasers, scanning every shadow. The hum of engines mixed with the cold mechanical voice of the soldiers. "Containment zone active. Target detected. Engage." Lyra pressed her hands against the damaged ship console, trying to activate a shield. Sparks flew and the lights inside flickered weakly. "It's no use," she said, panic in her voice. "The energy core is too weak." Ethan stepped beside her, his glowing veins faintly visible under his skin. "Then we fight," he said, though his voice shook. He wasn't a soldier, just a human who had stumbled into something too big. But he couldn't walk away. Not anymore. Outside, a squad of armored agents marched closer, their weapons glowing blue. Lyra grabbed Ethan's hand. "Promise me something," she whispered. "If they take me, don't come after me." Ethan looked at her, his jaw tight. Not a chance. The door of the ship exploded inward before she could argue. The blast threw them both backward. Ethan hit the wall hard, his vision spinning. Through the smoke, Commander Roth entered. Calm, confident, his black armor spotless. "Ah, the runaway scientist," Roth said, stepping over the wreckage. "And our newest hybrid creation." His cold eyes turned to Ethan. "You survived the energy merge. Impressive." Lyra stood shaking. "You used him. You turned a human into a weapon." Roth smiled thinly. "A necessary experiment. Humanity has limits. You helped us break them." Ethan's fist clenched, the veins on his arm glowing brighter. "You destroyed everything just to play God." Roth nodded slowly. "That's what gods do." He raised his hand and the soldiers fired. Blue energy shot across the room. Lyra reacted instantly, creating a small energy field around them. The blasts hit it, sending waves of light rippling through the air. But the shield flickered, and then cracked. Ethan felt a sudden surge inside him, like fire spreading through his body. He screamed, holding his head as flashes of light burst from his hands. The blasts hit the soldiers, sending them flying. For a moment, the entire ship glowed with alien blue light. When the light faded, the room was silent. The soldiers lay unconscious, and Ethan stood in the middle, breathing hard, his eyes glowing bright. Roth watched, fascinated. "Magnificent," he whispered. "The first successful fusion of alien energy and human DNA. You are the future of evolution. Ethan stumbled back, horrified by the destruction. No, I'm not your experiment. Roth stepped closer. You can't fight what you've become. He turned to Lyra. And you gave humanity this gift. Don't you see? Together we can shape the universe. Lyra shook her head. You don't want to shape it. You want to own it. She tried to summon her energy again, but before she could, Roth pressed a button on his wrist device. A high-pitched pulse filled the air. Lyra screamed, collapsing to her knees. Her skin flickered and the blue glow dimmed. Stop, Ethan shouted, rushing toward her. Roth held up a small black crystal. This is your power core, isn't it? We recovered it from the crash. He squeezed it tightly and Lyra gasped in pain. Without this, your body can't survive long on Earth. Ethan lunged forward, but two soldiers grabbed him, pinning his arms. Roth turned to him. Now you will decide, hybrid. Either she obeys me, or I crush this crystal and she dies. Lyra struggled to breathe, her eyes filled with tears. Don't listen to him. Ethan's mind raced. He could feel the alien energy burning in his veins, but he didn't know how to control it. Every time he tried, the power exploded wildly. He looked at her, broken and weak, on the floor. Then at Roth, smiling, cruel in control. Let her go, Ethan said quietly. Roth tilted his head. Then obey me. Help me create more like you. Ethan hesitated. He could feel the energy rising again, wild and angry. Lyra shook her head slowly, whispering, Don't let him win. Roth noticed the glow in Ethan's eyes and smirked. You think you can control it? You're just another weapon, boy. Ethan looked down at Lyra. No, he said softly. I'm not a weapon. He closed his eyes and focused. The blue light under his skin turned white, burning brighter and brighter. The air vibrated around him. The soldiers backed away, shouting in panic. What are you doing? Roth demanded. Ethan opened his eyes, now pure light. Taking back what's mine. The energy burst from him like a storm, throwing Roth and his men across the room. The crystal flew from Roth's hand, landing near Lyra. She reached out weakly and grabbed it, pressing it against her chest. Her body glowed once more, her strength returning. Roth tried to stand, shouting orders, but it was too late. The ship was breaking apart. Fire and light filled the chamber. Lyra grabbed Ethan's hand, pulling him toward an escape hatch. We have to go. Ethan hesitated, glancing back. Roth was still alive, half buried under debris, his voice full of rage. You can't hide from me. You're both mine. Ethan stared at him. Not anymore. He slammed the hatch shut. The ship exploded behind them as they ran into the forest, the night sky flashing blue and white. They collapsed near a river, gasping for air. Lyra looked at him, her silver eyes soft. You saved me, Ethan smiled faintly. You saved me first. But before they could rest, a soft static crackled through the air. From the sky, a massive drone appeared, larger than any before, its red eye blinking like a heart of fire. Lyra's face went pale. It's not over, she whispered. Ethan stood slowly, his body still glowing faintly. Then we finish it. The red light from the drone fell over them like a warning from the heavens. The war between humanity and the unknown had just begun. The red light from the giant drone painted the forest like blood. The hum of its engines shook the ground, scattering leaves and dust. Ethan stood with his fists clenched, his breath heavy, his veins glowing faintly blue beneath his skin. Beside him, Lyra looked weak but ready, her silver eyes glowing brighter each time the drone moved. Run, she whispered. It's not just a drone. It's Roth. He's controlling it. Ethan looked up at the massive machine hovering above the treetops. A holographic image flickered under the drone's belly. Commander Roth's cold face appeared in the air, smiling. You really thought you could escape, Ethan? Roth's voice echoed, mechanical and calm. You're not heroes. You're assets, experiments, my creation. Ethan glared up at him. You destroyed everything, and now you call it creation? Roth's hologram leaned closer. Look at yourself. Half human, half alien. You're proof that emotion can be controlled. You could lead a new race, loyal to me. Ethan laughed bitterly. You think I'd serve you after what you did to her? Roth ignored him, turning his gaze to Lyra. And you, little scientist. You came to study humanity's emotions. What did you find? Chaos, weakness? Or something worse? Lyra raised her chin, her voice trembling but strong. I found something you'll never understand, love. Roth's smile faded. Love? He said mockingly. A chemical illusion. A distraction that destroys civilizations. Ethan stepped forward. Then maybe your kind should be destroyed. Before Roth could reply, Ethan's eyes glowed brighter. He lifted his hand, and a wave of blue-white energy burst upward. The drone shook violently, its metal surface bending under the pressure. Sparks exploded from its engines, but Roth wasn't finished. He activated a new sequence. The drone released dozens of smaller machines, black spheres with sharp wings. They surrounded Ethan and Lyra, their sensors glowing red. "Capture mode active," Roth commanded. Lyra grabbed Ethan's arm. "We can't fight them all. We have to disable the control signal." "Where's it coming from?" Ethan shouted. Lyra pointed to the sky. "That drone, it's the source. We need to get closer." Ethan nodded, his glowing veins pulsing like lightning. "Then let's end this." They ran through the forest as the swarm of drones chased them, firing blue plasma bolts that burned the trees. Ethan turned and swung his arm. A wave of energy blasted through the air, knocking several drones down. Lyra used her device to create a small energy field around them, deflecting the shots. They reached a cliff overlooking the valley. The massive drone hovered above them, its shadow swallowing the ground. Roth's hologram appeared again, his voice calm but dark. "Enough games," he said. "Expose her, Ethan. Show the world what she is." Ethan froze. "What?" Roth's tone became colder. "Use your power. Connect to the satellite link in your DNA. Broadcast her image across every screen on Earth. Let humanity see the alien who's been hiding among them." Lyra's eyes widened in fear. "Ethan, don't," Roth continued, his voice pressing like poison. "If you expose her, I'll stop hunting you. You'll be free. The world will fear her, not you." Ethan's heart pounded. He looked at Lyra, trembling, broken, her eyes full of trust and fear. She whispered, "Please don't expose me." The same words she had spoken the night they met echoed in his mind. "Please don't expose me." He turned back to Roth, his voice steady but burning with anger. "You want me to betray her? To prove I'm your creation?" Roth smirked. "You already are." Ethan's eyes glowed brighter. The energy around him surged, shaking the ground. "Then watch what your creation can do." He raised both hands and a burst of light exploded from him, not toward Lyra, but toward the drone. The forest lit up like lightning as the beam hit its core. The giant machine trembled, metal tearing apart. Roth shouted in fury, his hologram flickering. "No, you'll destroy everything." "That's the point," Ethan yelled. The drone's systems went wild. Explosions ripped through its body, sending pieces of burning metal crashing into the trees. Lyra shielded them with a wave of blue energy as debris rained down around them. When the smoke cleared, the sky was empty. The drone was gone. Ethan fell to his knees, exhausted. His skin stopped glowing, and he looked up at the faint stars above. "It's over," he said weakly. Lyra knelt beside him, her hand trembling as she touched his cheek. "You didn't expose me." He smiled faintly. "No, I exposed him." She laughed softly, though tears filled her eyes. "You foolish human." But before they could rest, a distant rumble shook the valley. A huge holographic symbol appeared in the sky, the emblem of Project Veil, along with Roth's distorted voice. "You think you've won? You only destroyed one unit. I have hundreds. The world already knows your face, Ethan. Soon they'll come for both of you." The hologram vanished, leaving only silence and smoke. Ethan looked at Lyra, his face pale. "He's lying, right?" She didn't answer. Her glowing wrist showed lines of code flashing fast. "He's not lying," she whispered. "The broadcast went through. The world saw us." Ethan froze. "Then what happens now?" Lyra looked toward the horizon, where distant city lights blinked faintly. Now, humanity must decide what it fears more, the truth or itself. The wind picked up, carrying the ashes of the fallen drone into the dark sky. Ethan stood beside her, his eyes glowing faintly again. "Whatever happens," he said, "I'm not running anymore." Lyra smiled softly. "Then maybe you're more human than anyone left." As they walked into the fading light of dawn, unseen cameras in the trees followed their every move, and far away, in a hidden base, Commander Roth smiled in the shadows. "The experiment," he whispered, "has only just begun." The morning sky burned red as the sun rose over the smoking forest. The world had changed overnight. Across every screen, every city, every device, the image of Lyra, the alien girl, and Ethan, the human hybrid, had been seen. Their faces were everywhere. The world now knew. Humanity was not alone. In a small cave near the mountains, Ethan sat beside a dying fire. His body ached from the battle. The blue light that once glowed under his skin had faded to a dull shimmer. Lyra sat nearby, her silver hair tangled, her skin pale. She looked weaker than ever, her breathing slow and shallow. "They saw us," Ethan said quietly. "Everywhere. The world knows." Lyra nodded. "Yes, and now the world will choose what to believe. Some will see monsters, others will see truth." Outside, the sound of distant sirens echoed, helicopters, search drones, human soldiers. The hunt had begun again, but this time, not by Project Veil alone. Governments, media, and ordinary people were searching too. Ethan stared into the flames. "We can't run forever," Lyra smiled weakly. "You sound like me when I first came here." He turned to her. "You said your body couldn't survive on Earth long. How long do you have?" Her eyes lowered. "Hours, maybe less. The air here, the radiation, the gravity, it all eats away at my cells. The crystal keeps me alive, but it's almost empty." Ethan's chest tightened. "Then we'll find a way to charge it again." "Your ship?" She shook her head. "Destroyed. There's only one way left." Ethan frowned. "What way?" Lyra hesitated, looking at the small glowing crystal in her hand. "The crystal holds energy, enough to power one mind. It can't save both of us." He stared at her, not understanding. "What are you saying?" "I can use it to erase myself from this world," she said softly. "To wipe all memories of me, of aliens, of Project Veil, from every human mind. The world would go back to normal. Peace, ignorance. But I would disappear completely." Ethan's voice broke. "You'd die?" She nodded slowly. "Not die, just cease. Like I was never here." He stood, angry and desperate. "No, you can't do that. You're the reason I'm alive. You showed me what it means to be human." Lyra smiled sadly. "And you showed me what it means to feel." Silence filled the cave. Outside, a low rumble echoed. Hovercrafts closing in. The searchers were near. Ethan took a deep breath. "If you erase yourself, will they stop hunting us?" "Yes," she whispered. "They won't remember me. They won't remember you. They'll forget everything, even the truth." He looked at her, tears in his eyes. "Then I'd rather the world remember the truth, even if it means losing everything." Lyra's eyes shimmered like silver glass. "You humans, always choosing pain over peace." She reached out and touched his face gently. "That's why you're dangerous. That's why you're beautiful." A loud explosion shook the cave. Rocks fell from the ceiling as bright lights filled the entrance. Project Veil soldiers poured in, led by Commander Roth, burned, scarred, but alive. "End of the line," Roth said, aiming his weapon. "You both had your fun. Now let's end this story." Ethan stood in front of Lyra, his arms glowing again. "You'll have to kill me first." Roth smirked. "Gladly." He fired. The blast of blue energy flew toward them, but before it hit, Lyra stepped forward. The crystal in her hand shone like a star. A wave of pure light exploded outward, freezing everything in time. Ethan gasped. The light surrounded him, warm and peaceful. Lyra stood at the center, glowing brighter and brighter. "Lyra!" he shouted. "Don't do this," she smiled through the light. "Goodbye, Ethan. Thank you for showing me your world." The light consumed everything: the soldiers, the cave, the forest, the sky, and then silence. When Ethan opened his eyes again, he was standing on the same forest path where everything began. The flickering streetlight, the cold night air. He blinked, confused. His clothes were clean. His hands, normal. No glowing veins, no burns. He looked around. No smoke, no soldiers, no Lyra. A strange feeling filled his chest, like a dream half-remembered. He walked home slowly, the world around him calm and ordinary again. On the news, there was nothing about aliens or Project Veil, just politics, weather, and sports. Days passed. Life went on. But sometimes, when he closed his eyes, he saw a faint light, silver hair, glowing eyes, a voice whispering, "Please, don't expose me." One night as he sat by the window staring at the stars, his old radio crackled to life for the first time in years. A soft voice came through the static. "Ethan, if you can hear me, thank you." He froze. The radio glowed faintly blue. Outside, a shooting star crossed the night sky, slow, bright, and silent. Ethan smiled sadly. "You're welcome, Lyra." The star faded beyond the horizon, leaving only darkness and peace. But deep underground, in a hidden facility, Commander Roth stood before a black screen filled with alien code. He watched as a faint light blinked back to life, one signal far away beyond Earth. He smiled. "Welcome back, Unit 07. And somewhere among the stars, a silver-eyed girl opened her eyes once more.